Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Navnil Chaudhary, and I'll be presenting our paper titled Crosstalk-induced side-channel threats in multi-tenant NISQ computers. This work is a collaborative effort between University of Texas at Dallas and University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we begin by talking briefly about the basics of quantum computing. So qubits are the most basic unit of information in quantum computers, akin to classical bits. But however, there's a very big distinction that qubits are essentially vectors, and they can be represented as by a sphere. And these qubits are acted upon by quantum gates, which essentially change the state of these qubits and rotate. This can be visualized as rotations around the sphere, and these can also affect the amplitudes of the qubits. So quantum gates can broadly be classified into single qubit gates or multi-qubit gates. And single qubit gates include X gates, Y gates, Z gates, or different phase gates. So multi-qubit gates include CX gates. And multi-qubit gates are primarily utilized to entangle qubits among themselves. And these entanglements and superposition is what gives quantum computers their ability to do their high processing speeds, essentially. And these qubits and quantum gates essentially comprise the quantum circuits. And these quantum circuits are further executed on the quantum backend. So, for example, consider 2-qubit quantum circuit here. These 2 qubits are acted upon by 2 single qubit gates. Followed by that, they're entangled by using a 2-qubit CNOT gate, and then they're finally measured. The measurement produces the final outcome of the operation. So these measurement operations essentially collapse the qubits into classical bits, and since qubits are inherently probabilistic in nature, the quantum circuits need to be executed multiple times. And after the execution, the output distribution essentially shows what the expected output is. So in this case, this 2-qubit quantum circuit is the 0, 1, and 1, 0 are the expected outcomes. The other outcomes also show up with some counts because of errors inherent in quantum computers today. So quantum computers are very expensive today, and that is why we have to take into consideration that most users utilize cloud-based quantum computers, where the users design their quantum circuits and then they submit that to the cloud. Followed by that, these algorithms are scheduled as jobs and are queued up, waiting to be executed on the quantum computer. When their turn comes up, they are compiled and then mapped onto the actual physical quantum computer. This compilation involves translating the user-designed quantum circuit into a hardware-compatible version of the quantum circuit, and then the quantum computer executes the said quantum algorithm and returns the results to the user. However, existing quantum services, quantum cloud services, are essentially single-tenant in nature. So consider this case where the user is utilizing 12 qubits out of a 127 qubit quantum computer. This leads to a quantum processing unit or QPU utilization of 9.44%, which is really low. And we would not want that. This, in tandem with high wait times, will also cause several issues with single tenancy. So for example, wait times is what we mean by how long the jobs are in queue before they are executed on the quantum computer. We did a study across 6 different quantum computing backends, and we found that the wait time over a period of 10 days, and we found that the wait time could vary anywhere between under a minute to over 2.5 hours, which is really long. To circumvent these challenges, multi-tenancy has been proposed as a solution. So by multi-tenancy, we mean that multiple users are sharing the same quantum processing unit at any given time. So consider this case where 5 different users are utilizing 65 qubits among themselves. This leads to a QPU utilization of 51.18%, which is significantly higher than the previous 9.44%. However, said multi-tenancy also has their issues and challenges, such as what if a malicious user tries executing their own quantum circuit in a multi-tenant setting and they try to snoop some information or extract some sensitive information. But why do we really care about sensitive information extraction in quantum computers? Well, as quantum computing gains traction, they're being utilized in several different fields, such as machine learning, cryptography, biochemistry, etc. So consider a case where a variational quantum algorithm is being utilized to optimize a portfolio of a bank, let's say. So in such a case, the bank would have to map their portfolio information and encode it onto the qubits in the quantum computer. And this information, if leaked to a malicious user, can have devastating effects, needless to say. So in such a case, sensitive information leaking could be a big issue. So sensitive information can be leaked by side channel attacks. This is a side channel track, so I won't talk too long about it. So side channel attacks, essentially, I mean power side channel attacks, timing side channel attacks, EM side channel attacks, so on. So these attacks do leak sensitive information and jeopardize user information by leaking sensitive data. However, these have been studied briefly in quantum computers as well, and they have similar traits as classical computers. However, due to the quantum nature of quantum computing, there are quantum side channels which have not been considered yet as threats. So, for example, as the user encodes the confidential data into a quantum algorithm and maps their quantum program onto the QPU, the adversary can also do the same, and when both the algorithms are deployed on the same QPU, proprietary data can be leaked. And in this case, in our paper, we consider crosstalk to be such a quantum side channel. It is important to note that errors are present in today's quantum computers. These are due to inherent non-idealities in quantum computers, such as readout assignment errors, poly-X errors. These are single qubit errors, and then there are ECR errors, and so on. These errors actually are what the adversary can exploit to essentially mount attacks and steal sensitive information from the user. So in our threat model, we considered that the victim and the user share a common quantum processing unit, and they can they can run their algorithms on the same QPU concurrently, along with the fact that the attacker is aware that there's a limited set of useful quantum algorithms today. So the victim, in this diagram, we show that there's a 7-qubit quantum computing unit, quantum processing unit, and victim is utilizing 3 qubits, and the attacker is utilizing 4. So what do we mean by crosstalk in this scenario? Well, essentially, crosstalk is the undesired interaction between qubit operations. Specifically, in our paper, we have considered the crosstalk to be between 2 qubit gates, the C0 gate, and idle qubits. So by idle qubits, I mean qubits that are undergoing no operation at the moment. So these 3 are different circuits that can be run by the adversary. So in these cases, ideally, the 0 counts expected by the adversary in an ideal scenario would be 100. But however, we see 0 counts deviating. Slight deviations in 0 counts can be accounted to minimal errors in existing quantum computers. However, higher deviations, such as in circuit B or circuit C, can be due to crosstalk. So these variations are very important, and we show in our paper that 0 counts can differ based on the snooping qubit used by the adversary. And what I mean by snooping qubits is the qubits utilized by the adversary when they map their quantum program onto the quantum computer. So essentially, these snooping qubits that the adversary utilizes have the varying levels of sensitivity, and it depends on the 0 counts that they can infer also varies according to the snooping qubit they utilize. We further show that the scalability of C0 counting also depends on the snooping qubit utilized by the adversary. So it is important to note that the crosstalk and the number of C0 gates in the quantum circuit are directly proportional, since we are considering C0 gate crosstalk with idle qubits. So we see that based on the snooping qubit utilized, the number of C0 gates that can be counted by the adversary varies significantly. Keeping that in mind, we see in our proposed attack, we design our proposed attack where the victim circuit and the adversary circuit are mapped onto the same quantum processing unit, and there's crosstalk. Crosstalk occurs among them. This crosstalk is then detected by the adversarial circuit. Now, it is important to note that we've shown that from the crosstalk, the number of C0 gates can be counted. The total number of C0 gates gives us an idea of the number of C0 gates in the circuit. However, we further time bucket the crosstalk data into different time buckets. This gives us the schedule of the C0 gates and essentially tells us the structure of the quantum circuit the victim utilizes. So, for example, if there can be 10 C0 gates in a couple of different algorithms. However, since when we utilize time bucketing, we can see that the distribution of these 10 C0 gates can vary significantly among the different circuits. Followed by this time bucketing and the total C0 gate data, we filter this data and then feed it into a machine learning model. For our paper, we utilize a graph convolutional network model. And in this GCN model, the quantum circuits are translated into graphs. In these graphs, the qubits are treated as nodes, and the C0 gates that are connecting them are treated as edges. And following that, upon training it with quantum circuits such as these, and then testing victim circuit identification, we show that it is possible to identify the victim quantum circuit. So I'd briefly like to talk about the results we obtained from this study. So we consider different data sets for training our machine learning model. Dataset 1 had 10 benchmark circuits, dataset 2 had 25, and dataset 3 had 336 benchmarks. It is important to understand that benchmark circuits can be of, like a single benchmark circuit can have multiple different transpiled versions of it. We considered 16. So in this case, the percentage variation in accuracy is considered with the percentage variation of fuzziness. The fuzziness denotes the erroneous data received during the crosstalk detection. So essentially, what I mean is that when we mention the snooping qubit is very important, which the adversary utilizes to detect crosstalk. So it stands to reason that there will be some error about the crosstalk that is being detected by the adversary. We account for that in our data set, and we introduce randomness into a data set. We allow for a deviation of up to 3 CNOT gates in the data set, which means that even in cases where there are no CNOT gates present and should not be detected, we allow for up to 3 CNOT gates to be detected in the data set. So essentially, we see that we check the robustness of our data set, and we see that with increasing percentage fuzziness, the accuracy decreases. However, within realistic bounds of 20 to 30% of fuzziness, our model, especially trained on dataset 3, performs significantly better, providing up to over 80% accuracy. And this is very important to note that this proves that CNOT gate counting is CNOT gate counting essentially allows us to recalibrate and reconstruct the quantum circuit extracted from the victim. So essentially, the message is clear that using crosstalk as a side channel allows us to count the CNOT gates and obtain the schedule of CNOT gates from the victim data. This allows the user to reconstruct within some accuracy bounds the victim circuit that is being utilized. And this kind of side channel poses a big threat to multi-tenant settings, and this should be circumvented, and steps should be taken to take these side channel threats seriously. And these steps can include steps like dynamical decoupling to essentially mask the data of crosstalk, but we have not explored that yet. We want to in future studies. So to conclude, that this paper showed crosstalk quantum side channel of exploiting crosstalk as a new attack vector and focused on exposing vulnerabilities in shared quantum computing. The threat model was evaluated under realistic constraints, and no special privilege was given to the adversary. And the relevance of CNOT gates as the basis of this counting CNOT gates as the basis of reconstruction of circuit was also shown. Our trained GCN model achieved 85.6% accuracy, and this research essentially emphasizes the need for security in collaborative quantum computing. Thank you.
Questions? So maybe I ask a question. So you mentioned briefly something about potential idea about the countermeasure. Could you please elaborate?
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. So essentially, there are several potential countermeasures that could be elaborated. Some of them include things like dynamical decoupling, where you don't exactly get the schedule of the quantum operations because you include single qubit gates as padding between multiple qubit operations. But it remains to be seen if a dynamical decoupling can actually prevent crosstalk, because in this case, we consider the crosstalk between two qubit gates. It will be difficult to exactly reconstruct the same circuit because the single qubit gates also play a big part in the quantum circuit. However, it's like within a certain bound, since there are less useful quantum algorithms today, it might still be possible to identify the victim circuit. So there need to be better countermeasures for that, and hopefully we'll discover that.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Yeah, Yunzi, please use the microphone.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting work. How about the scalability?
Scalability.
In terms of the victim circuit, how do you quantify the size or complexity?
Oh, thank you for that's a great question. Thank you. So essentially, with the scalability question, so when we did these experiments, the highest number of qubits available to us was 17. IBM Guadeloupe, so we tried it with that. We also show by simulation that it is possible to get scalability of qubits of up to 120 qubit benchmarks, but the accuracy significantly drops when the number of gates increases, because it's very difficult to have the time bucketing. So maybe with a more sophisticated method built on this, it would still be possible to identify. And since IBM and other quantum computers are moving away from CNOT gates and going to ECR gates, it's also possible that there might be new methods coming up which might still be scalable. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's thank the speaker again.